Okay, that was Dead or Alive, folks. That's right, Dead or Alive. You spin me around like a record. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, we have Dean Marino of Papermaps on the line. Hey, Dean.
Hey, man, how's it going?
All right, how are you?
Pretty good.
Good. Can you hear me all right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. So that way I don't have to bend over toward the phone too much. Okay, it's all good. So Dean, let me just start with the newest thing that I know of anyway. You can tell me if there's something else. But I've checked out your newest video, Nobody Gets It.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah, and I really like it. I also enjoyed your other one. It's been a while since we've spoken, so I've also seen There Are Wolves. And the one I like about that one is I like how you are walking around with your chess match, and then in the end, just like life, it just falls apart, and you just have to keep walking on.
That's right.
But
yeah, it was like we came up with that. That was like a band idea. That video, we kind of came up with the idea of me playing a game of chess against the rest of the band.
Yeah.
And me ultimately losing somehow. And it was a fun video to make. It only took like a day to do, and it was really, like, I don't think it cost any money to make that video at all. We just sort of had a guy follow me around with a camera, and I actually went to where the band members were that day. They were all doing their own thing that day, and I actually said, okay, I'm going to meet you, outside the school at, this time, and I'm going to meet you outside the comic book shop at this time. And it all kind of worked out, which was kind of lucky.
Did they know that
it was fun to make.
Did they know that they were going to be playing chess?
Yeah, we talked about it. Like we knew what it was, like what the concept was, and I already had their moves. If anyone out there is a real chess player, you might actually note that the moves are all legit. There's an actual game going on and everything. It was all like sort of pre-programmed, and then so it was all like set up, but still a lot of improv going on and a lot of off the cuff kind of stuff happening in the videos.
So how did you pick the lucky guy who got to knock over the chess match?
That was that's really a funny story because it was totally random. Like me and Casper, the video director, we were like, okay, so how are we going to do this? And we happened to just run into another guy, a friend of Casper's, just walking around town, filming a video. He's also into film as well, and we were like, well, perfect. Can you be the guy who walks into me by accident? Because this way, we were going to make me trip over something, originally I was going to trip over a crack in the cement or something like that, But instead we found this guy, and it just by, chance, and he was totally cool with it, so it worked out perfectly.
Oh, that's cool. So let's move on here a little bit further back. I'm guessing that your latest album, or the EP rather, The Inferior Ghost, was that the last album that was recorded at your Chemical Sound Studio?
It was one of the last records. There were a few other records by other artists that got squeezed out before we shut the place down, but it's certainly the last record I worked on at Chemical. And even the mixing was done there. It's funny, like, after I moved out of Chemical, another studio took over the space where the studio was, and I actually went to that post-Chemical studio and finished the record there, the mixing and everything. So the whole thing was done there, and I've since started another studio in the same building, but not under the Chemical name, but a much smaller operation where we'll be doing our next record. But I think it got beat out by From East to Exit, a band from Guelph was one of the last bands to actually make a full recording there.
Okay, so sorry.
Yeah, it's kind of argued. It's not set in stone because records get made like they overlap each other. You know, like I might be in working on my record one day, and then another band might be in working on their record another day. You know what I mean? So it's really hard to nail down exactly like this was the last record made there. It was certainly one of the last 3 records made at the studio.
Yeah, but you could always lie. After all, it was your studio.
That's true.
Yeah.
I guess I can, but I'm just too nice.
Yeah, no, I hear ya. No, I follow ya. So you say now you've already got another smaller studio. So was it just a matter of downsizing?
Yeah, I guess you can say that. I'm in a smaller facility now, and yeah, it was like downsizing, except I guess the MO of this studio is a little different because it's more of a private space. Because it's smaller with less overhead, I can just record Papermaps there, and then if there's like other bands that I want to work with as a producer, then I'll let them in the studio. But otherwise, I'm not stuck with with the big overhead of a large studio where you have to basically like record everybody who shows up like first come first serve. It's no longer that kind of an operation.
Okay, I hear ya. So I've learned that Chemical Sound operated for 20 years. You had it for 6. How did you come across that? What made you decide one day, hey, I want a studio?
I've always been interested in recording. I've always had some kind of studio set up start off in my parents' basement, and then like moved to my dorm room, and then like eventually in one of my spare bedrooms in my apartment. So I've always like been recording, and I got involved in Chemical back like well before I actually bought it. I was working there as an intern, and then I started working there as an engineer. So it seemed natural to me to want to actually run a recording studio. Unfortunately, though, like the way the music industry is going these days, there's not a lot of room left for big studios. Chemical wasn't the only studio that shut its doors in the last few years. I mean, Reaction Sound also closed, and Sleepy Town's another mid-sized studio that closed. So it's more of like owning a studio is important to me, but owning a large commercial studio these days is kind of like it's not the easiest business to be in.
Right. Okay. So hey, let's go back to your release party. Now I don't know how big Little Barrie is in Ontario. Out here, I'm the only person that I know that really knows what Little Barrie is, and you know what? I love Little Barrie. But maybe first tell me, does Little Barrie, are they fairly well known in your parts?
It was a great show. They're an amazing band, and we had a very good turnout. I think Little Barrie was playing mostly to a combination of our people and a few of their people. So that was good for them because like a lot of Torontonians who didn't know who they were got to see them for the first time, and some of them were like really turned on by them. So it's